Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. We're almost there. A couple more weeks in the semester. Just need to do this video blog and the exam. We should be done. So, congrats to everybody for making it. I'm just gonna jump into these questions. So, discuss the communities known as colonias. What are they? So, I'm gonna give the actual definition and give my own definition of what a colonia is. So, they're unincorporated communities located on the rims of larger urban centers throughout the U.S.-Mexico border. So, areas such as like Arapazo, Laredo, those are going to be the areas that we're talking about. And so basically these are unincorporated areas. So like let's say anyone just buys a piece of land, like maybe like in the video, like they give the like they have a farmer who buys 10 acres of land, and then they just sell it to these people for a cheap price. So they give it to, you know they say, give me $500 for this piece and this land is yours. But what colonias are, they're they're false opportunities given into people that, that's going to be low rent. They're gonna have food. They're gonna have water, electricity, roads, and the only thing is that they're gonna be in a. They're not gonna be in the suburban area. They're gonna be more rural, but that is a complete lie. So what's happening? So that's what they are. They're not, accesses to. They're not even part of of like the city map. They're not incorporated. And, a lot of these people who own the acres, they don't register under them in the city. So a lot of these places don't even have running water or electricity, or it's very hard to access these places. And so why do they exist? So like I said before, it's a way, a cheap form of living. You know, these people lie to the Mexican community, and they go and they tell these people, oh, give me $500 and $25 a month, and this land is going to be yours. But like stated in the video before, they lied to them. It's like it's a rent to own, or they're not even renting to own. They're just renting it. So they're giving the deeds to these places, but it doesn't mean anything because the farmer or whoever owns that piece of land actually owns it, so it doesn't mean anything. And because it's not registered in the city, it doesn't mean anything. So that land that they try to sell back, it doesn't has no value. And so in what ways Colonia is marginalized? So I did highlight some stuff in in the Forgotten Americas, a voice for Colonias article. So there's two, statements that really struck my eye. One of them was, if there is a medical emergency, if someone is dying or a kid is sick, there is no close hospitals or clinics near here. The pediatrician comes to the community center every Wednesday only. I know that ambulances and fire trucks come on an hour late after the incident because they do not know where the street and sparks. So that's just another way of looking at it, is that these places are so, they're not even seen as part of like the area that they're in, and they don't have access. And a second one that I got was, in my colonia there is a need for a lot of things. For example, we don't have running water. I think this is something the government should help us with. I also would like for our school to have more money for better cafeteria food and a better bus transportation. Like myself, many students walk home. It is a tiring and sometimes unsafe. And it's true, a lot of people come into these colonias, and it's stricken with poverty because a lot of these people can't afford, to be in these suburban areas, or so they're having to go into these rural areas. And it's where a lot of crime, because you know what's happening a lot, there's no community events happening in these colonias that aren't sponsored by the city, by the schools, because they're so far out. And it's horrible because they're going out and they're relying on crime, where kids get bored and they have nothing to do, they're going to do something bad. And that's an unfortunate consequence of the colonias, is that because these kids they have no guidance, they have nothing. And the most times, like, their parents are working and their parents are tired, and they're walking long distances. Some of them walk probably 3 or 4 miles a day just to get to the bus to take them to school. And so they're waking up early and they're tired, and by the time they get to school, they're probably not even going to be listening, because they're just so tired, because they're waking up early and they're getting home late, and it's horrible. So the second question is, how does globalization and capitalism contribute to health disparities and in environmental injustice along the US border? So there's two things I want to talk about for globalization. So through NAFTA, this is why corporations were able to go into like Mexico, like in the video, Sonia was a really big one, or Sony. It was going into these communities, and the reason why they were going into Mexico was because there was a form of cheap labor, and it's very unfortunate because they weren't being paid a lot, and the working conditions were horrible. And I wanted to bring up this statement that I got from Globalization and the Health at the United States-Mexico border article. So it was economic integration via NAFTA did not void legislation that impedes integration or public health programs, nor did it facilitate the creation of legal instruments to ease the design and implementation of binational border programs. So basically, all NAFTA did was let these corporations go into Mexico or anywhere, U.S., Canada. They were letting them do that, but with these people, they weren't given health insurance. They were in unsafe working conditions. And I brought it up in actually one in the quiz, was that it's equivalent to people working during the Industrial Revolution. These people they were not treated well. The maquiladores, they're being paid, and they're being treated horrible. They're being forced to work, and then and I know in the video it brings up how Sony, the company that was in Mexico, it was in the community, so they had the people living right next to it. And so in its unsafe conditions, they even brought up how how a man got electrocuted, how a dog even got electrocuted because the lines were just running on open water. And so if there was a ball just so happened to fall into the pond, it was a kid who can get electrocuted. And so another thing I wanted to bring up from the globalization article was, our study shows that globalization has not helped to improve health cooperation between the two federal governments or between neighboring states and municipalities. Border states and municipalities are not allowed to carry joint programs or mutual interest, and even the exchange of basic epidemiological and health information continues to be problematic. So also NAFTA is letting these happen, letting these corporations go into the community, but they're not fighting for the health of these people, because these are U.S. corporations, and a lot of U.S. corporations, they usually try to offer health care, but when it comes down to Mexico, they're not doing it. So this is another thing that's happening, and so it's contributing to health disparities, because they're living in unhealthy working and living conditions, so they're constantly getting sick. And I know it also gets mentioned, let me see if I can pull it up. And I know it mentions that in the in the podcast, it mentions that in the Central Valley that it's cheaper to get soda than water, and that people are given incentives to get soda versus water. And so they go into like the grocery store, and one even mentioned that if they spend $50 at the grocery store, they're gonna get 2 free 3 liters of Coke or Dr. Pepper or a soda. But it's like, why isn't that happening with water? And so this is contributing a lot, because it's areas that they're focusing, and that's leading to Mexican American health into a decline, because people who are working along, they're not being treated right, and they're coming over and they're being paid less. So those are just a couple things that are contributing to the environmental injustice along the U.S. border. But thank you guys for listening. Good luck with your with your other classes and this class, and we're almost there. Thank you guys.